Welcome back to This is Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me, I still have Professor Bola Akintenwa, Director General, Bolitech Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. Professor Anthony Kila, Director at the Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, and Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director. Enough is enough. Well, Professor Akintenwa, thank you for joining us. Professor Kila, thank you for joining us. And Yemi Adamolekun, who is with me here in the studio in Lagos. If you can hear me, Professor Kila, let me start with you. We've had quite a number of topics today. The crisis in Sudan, the drama, the unfolding farcical drama in Adamawa state, and the supplementary elections conducted yesterday in 24 states of Nigeria. And then, of course, latest inflation figure of Nigeria, well over 24%. And of course, we also discuss Chibok girls, the World Bank spring meeting, and recommendations by the Bretton Woods institutions for the management of the Nigerian economy and the way forward. And the spectacle of Nigerians saying that they protested at the meeting, telling the World Bank not to give loans to Nigeria. Professor Kila, let me start with you.
Let's go alphabetically, starting from Adamawa. I think the Adamawa situation, if true, if what has been said so far turns out to be true, because it's a very criminal embarrassment and comedy, I think it should be treated like treason. I think that level of attempted impersonification, if true, where somebody just declare it, because normally when rigging happens, we don't know. In this case, we know who tried it according to report. That individual should be made as an example. The process of prosecuting and investigating what happened in Adamawa should be used as an example and as a precedent for rigging in Nigeria. And I really want people on both sides of the divide to suspend their partisan view at the moment, and that whatever they say is what they should be able to say when the table will be turned against them one day. Regardless of who's winning or losing, I think this is a time when some of us should come forward and think of the institution. Because the gravity of what is going on there is that whatever happens, this process is blighting a possible victory. And this is the problem we have. If a woman is elected on an election that people perceive as stolen, it gives no joy for the first woman candidate. It should be a very clear, convincing, enjoyable victory. That is what makes history. And anybody that tends to make history in this kind of way should be treated really the way they deserve. I suggest treason as a charge. Regarding the inflation problem we have, it is what we know already. And I'm very pleased to hear the economists who spoke before us say that most of the things IMF recommend for us are things that we can discover ourselves. The inflation situation in Nigeria is not a sudden, unknown or mysterious position we find ourselves. It's a problem of production. We're not producing enough. It's not that too much money is in circulation. It's because the money we have, which is not enough, is chasing fewer goods and services. We're not producing because we're not producers. We're not producing because there is no possibility to go to the farm and to go to the factory because of insecurity. So we really need to think that through. That's the problem we have about that. And we need to rethink it. As it is now, we have to put our hope on what happens after May 29. I'm not used to having a lot of hope in the present administration to get anything right. We can just hope they go away quickly and whoever comes in, and we start getting it right from there. The Chibok girls, the sad commemoration of the Chibok girl, it's an indictment of us as a people to see that we've not been able to solve, not only bring back all the girls home, but as Dr. Ruben Abati pointed out, we've actually lost some more to kidnappers, which just defies Homo sapiens. It defies intelligence, because the whole essence of a public body is that when something happens, we say never again. We learn from it. I've noted elsewhere that up till today, I doubt anybody can confidently say the number of students in any compound at any given time of the day. We talk about the safe school process, but we've not actually seen that happening. And nothing has changed in our policies and the presence of security in the country. So it's a huge reminder. Just before I stop, I'd like to remind people that close to 8 years ago, one of the major reasons why the then candidate, now outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari, was elected was the belief that he will fight security generally and in particular bring back all the Chibok girls. I leave my comment at that. Let people think and draw their conclusions.
Okay, thank you, Professor Kila. Yemi Adamolekun. I don't know whether you want to talk about inflation, 22.04% in March. But food inflation is over 24% now, 24.35%. But I'm sure you would like to talk about the Chibok girls 9 years after, and the supplementary elections yesterday, and particularly Adamawa.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm not particularly interested in talking about inflation because, as Professor Akitarewa will say, we're fundamentally dishonest. So, I mean, the investment banker, I always stumble on his name, but the investment banker guest you had before I came on, I think he made the point very clear. We're borrowing without a clear plan. We're borrowing, leaving the country in debt, 30 trillion more in the Buhari administration, and for what? So I'll leave that and focus on these two other things. So on the Chibok girls, to Mr. Kila's point, President Muhammadu Buhari's statement on May 29, 2015, during his swearing-in ceremony, he said, "But we cannot claim to have defeated Boko Haram without rescuing the Chibok girls and all other innocent persons held hostage by insurgents. This government will do all it can to rescue them alive." Now, this is not to say that even if you've done your best, that you'll be 100% successful. Far from it. And as you said in your report, there are some that they have brought back. But there are two fundamental problems with the Buhari administration and their approach to not only the Chibok girls, to missing people in Nigeria, period. Number one, a lack of accountability. So anytime a school is raided and students are abducted, there's a big statement, a big brouhaha, and then silence. From 2014, when the Chibok girls were abducted, the Bring Back Our Girls movement has advocated for a missing persons register. A lot of other countries have them because you cannot celebrate that someone has come back when you don't know that they went in the first place. So the idea is have a missing persons register so that we can track Nigerians that are missing and know when they're coming back, and also be able to predict trends. Where is it happening? What's happening? How much are people paying in ransom? Femi Falana in 2019 challenged us. He came to speak at Falomo. So in Lagos, the Bring Back Our Girls movement meets every Saturday at Falomo. He came to Falomo to speak, and he said that the federal government is not going to set up a missing persons register because it will then show just how many Nigerians are missing. And so he challenged us to set it up, and we did. So since 2019, EIA has run Missing in NG project of just tracking the number of people that are missing. And then the media platform Humango started 2 years ago, but focused particularly on Borno. Again, the Swiss government, the Red Cross, worked with the Nigerian government, I believe, leading up to 2019 to set up a framework for this missing persons register. Nigerian government was then meant to pilot it in 4 states. It has entered voicemail because they haven't done anything about it. Secondly, on the Chibok girls, during the press conference that the Chibok community in Abuja held on Friday, which was the actual commemoration of the 9 years, they said that there are 14 girls in the custody of the Borno state government. So they've been brought back, rescued or found. The Borno state government has kept them. Yes, they usually keep them, do a debriefing, make sure that they're okay. Some have been kept for 6 months, all the way up to 1.5 years. The parents know they're back, but they haven't seen them. Again, that's part of the challenge of this administration, a lack of accountability. They made that statement on Friday. Silence from the Borno state government from Friday till now. Now, if there was some importance that they count to these young women now who are in their custody, there should have been a statement that this is what's going on. And then lastly, from President Buhari's statement, his scorecard at the end of an 8-year tenure is not what he said he would do. I mean, there are other quotes of what he said in subsequent. There were 2 other meetings, for example, with Chibok parents where he made different statements. The former Minister of Women Affairs also made several statements on his behalf. But his tenure is over in about a month. And at the very least, we expect the the administration to account for the girls and what they have done. Oh, lastly, there are some of the girls that their colleagues came back and said they had died. Either they were shot or because of the conditions in Sambisa, they didn't survive. The federal government has failed to acknowledge that because they said, oh, either the girls were traumatized, they don't really know what they were saying. But if officers of the army die in combat, nobody says that the other colleagues are traumatized and they don't know what they're saying when they come back and say their colleague died in the line of fire. So that's that on Chibok. So yes, so number one, account for the young girls that are dead and let us be clear about them. Number two, the Borno state government owes the Chibok community an explanation of why they are holding 14 girls that has been in their custody for 6 months to a year. And then three, the Nigerian state needs a missing persons register. And then secondly, on Adamawa, I think it's really very interesting what's happening in Adamawa. But I mean, for the video that you showed, the brazenness of the Rex declaration is what I love. There was no data in front of him. You didn't even try to say, based on she won 30,000 votes and whatever, absolutely no numbers. And you just declare someone having won the majority of votes. What is the number? No number. And not only did he do it, he then got up and basically told the police officer, let's go. And they left. But I think what's interesting is the parallel that a lot of people have drawn with Mahmoud Yakubu's actions at the presidential election. At least he had results to work with. Fake or not, altered or not, well, at least he declared based on a result. So the point was that if that could have been done at the presidential level and nothing happened, why did the REC not think he could possibly try it? Because the phrase we're telling everybody these days is what? Go to court.
Okay, well, Professor Akintenewa, please just hold on. I'll come back to you. We have breaking news from Kebbi State, where we understand that there's a development. We told you earlier that the returning officer of the Kebbi State supplementary governorship polls, Professor Yusuf Seidu, declared Dr. Nasir Idris winner and governor-elect of Kebbi State. Now we cross live to Kebbi State, where the governor-elect is addressing the media.
Committed and dedicated farmers, inshallah, we shall answer our name as a new food basket of the nation. My administration has a plan of creating many millionaires farmers in the states. Our state capital will no longer be seen as glorified local government headquarters. A lot has been done by previous administration to make it better. Let me assure you that the time to make Birnin Kebbi a truly beautiful, attractive, and a remarkable city has come. We shall improve on our infrastructure. Roads will spring in many places to connect our village and towns and the cities. My dear compatriots, many of our people are in the rural areas. Some have never tasted the goodness of governance. To this category of people, I say, this is your time to eat the fruit of the support you give us. We have an agenda of the complete rural transformation and development of our rural area. This is the time. One of the greatest challenges of our country today is insecurity. I understand that ensuring the security of lives and properties of the people is the responsibility of every responsible government. I am worried about the security situation in southern part of the state, and I will do everything to ensure that our people there sleep with their two eyes closed. We shall implement a new solid and effective security architecture for Kebbi State, which will gradually, which will guarantee the security, safety of lives and property of every citizen. Never again shall our people feel neglected or being abandoned. The relationship between the state government, federal government, and security agencies will be maximized for good results. Those who give us the vote are anxious to see us in action. They need empowerment, and we shall empower them. By the grace of Almighty Allah, our government is a government of the people. The government shall be by the people. And inshallah, Whatever we do shall be for the people. Different welfare programs and policies shall be introduced. I assure you that the wells of Kebbi State will go round and the good welfare will no longer be the reserve for the few. Elections are now over. What remains is a onerous task of building a better Kebbi State. I therefore invite our opponent, all of them, my brothers, to join hands with us and make our state better. The task of building the Kebbi State of our dream is a collective responsibility of all of us. In conclusion, I pray a great tribute to the governor of Kebbi State, my good brother and the boss, for providing a relationship and for his commitment to a better Kebbi State and for his unflinching support. I must thank my good brother and friend and genuine supporter of Wakar Malami SA and Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Federation for everything that he has done. Same token of appreciation goes to my leader boss, my elder brother, and our DG campaign council, His Excellency Said Usman Nasamu Daikengari, and other members of the campaign council, chairman of our party, other members of our party, our great leaders who are too numerous to mention here. Members of our great party, supporters, all those who contributed to our victory. In particular, I salute the courage and dedication of our security agencies for neutrality and for ensuring peace and orderliness during and after the election. I commend INEC for its professionalism, justice, fairness, for providing a level playing ground for all parties. In conclusion, I congratulate the poor, helpless, and the weak members of the society, the patient and the work tirelessly for survival. Indeed, they are the winners because this is their government. Thank you, Kebbi State, for trusting us. We shall not take your trust and support for granted. And God willing, we shall not fail you. Thank you, and God bless all of us.
Governor-elect of Kebbi State there, Dr. Nasir Idris of the All Progressives Congress. He was declared winner with 409,225 votes against his closest rival, General Aminu Bant of the People's Democratic Party, who got 360,940 votes. And that's his acceptance speech there, promising a better Kebbi State and promising to run an all-inclusive government. We're back to you, Yemi Adamolekun. You were talking about the Adamawa.
The Adamawa, yes. And the parallel to the presidential elections, as people have said, that even though Mahmoud Yakubu had results, fake, altered, whatever you want to call it, but at least he had some numbers in front of him that he used. But for Adamawa, the brazenness of the REC, who not only did not have the power to declare results, but declared it without any numbers. And I think we need to be clear about what this means. That people would try, because we're now saying that the frame is go to court. So if I can declare results and it's allowed to stand, then, hey, we will try it and then people can go and battle it out in court. And what that means for what we're building. The PDP spokesman, the clip that we showed, talked about the fact that not every violence is physical. And I thought that was very important. Because the violence of what INEC has done, not just in Adamawa, in Kebbi, in Kano, in Lagos, in Rivers. I mean, Rivers, Premium Times has an article today showing that based on the results uploaded onto the IREF portal, it was clear that Labour won in Rivers for the presidential election. The PDP gentleman said the same thing, that they are basing their claim that they won based on what INEC has put on the IREF portal. So I think INEC needs to be really very mindful of that. And lastly, the provision of the law that allows the commission to overturn results within 7 days if declared under duress or illegally, was a provision that was not used enough in this election cycle. It's a provision that they've used now for Adamawa. They could have used it for Ogun. They could have used it for Etiosa House of Rep elections. They could have used it for Enugu and several others. And that is worth studying to see why did INEC pick and choose where it chose to use a provision of the law that allowed it to, in a sense, not inflict violence, quote and unquote, not physical, but inflict violence on the psyche of Nigerians who came out and voted their candidates of their choice.
Well, thank you, Yemi. Well, now let me come to you, Professor Akintenwa. Professor Akintenwa, maybe you help us start with Sudan. The developments there, I'm sure you must have been monitoring.
Yeah, I would like to provide a mathematical analysis of the 5 issues we have discussed. The common factor, whether we are talking about Sudan, we are talking about Adamawa elections, we are talking about the IMF and the protests there, we are talking about Chibok. At the end of the day, like Yemi Adamolekun rightly reminded, it is all about fundamental dishonesty. How? Let's take it one by one. You want me to start with Sudan? African leaders are professional, dishonest proponents. One, when the International Criminal Court wanted to arrest al-Bashir for trial, they gave a very powerful argument too, that we have the Americans, we have the European leaders that have committed similar offenses, but they have not been arrested. Why al-Bashir? Even when he went to South Africa for a summit, by the time efforts were being made to get him arrested, South Africa did whatever is possible to ensure his escape. In other words, we are aiding and abetting criminals. I'm not saying that he should not be protected in the spirit of African solidarity, but that is dishonesty par excellence. Even in Sudan there, for instance, the issue, the dishonest part of it, is simply that Paul Ejime told us that Sudan is a case of failed state. Fine, let us admit that it's a failed state, but what is responsible? The problem in Sudan, basically, is a struggle between the military successors of al-Bashir, who will want to cover up his atrocities, corruption, everything. Now, we have the opponents, the paramilitary, who are saying, look, return power to civilians. Military, go away. It's just like Nigeria, where the military has been civilianized and the civilians have been militarized. Now we have that. This is dishonesty par excellence. Now, what are they fighting for? Also, the opponents, the civilians, are now saying that they want to be integrated into the regular army. They are now saying that the holdings, the investments, the power that the military is enjoying now should be relinquished, that the civilians should be given the opportunity. And like I've always said, order and counter-order will always amount to disorder. Like the French will say, ordre et contre-ordre égale désordre. But that's just at the level of Sudan. If you now come to Chibok, I will argue here that the 107, the girls that are still in hostage, they are there because the government of Nigeria has defeated the Boko Haram technically. It is the technical defeat that is responsible for for the continued delay. Because we tell ourselves lies. Even the journalist Isaac that came, Isaac told us, if I heard him very well, that our President Buhari did very well. He should be commended because he succeeded in bringing back home some of the girls. How can you be commending a president for bringing just a fraction? American government will declare a total war simply because of one individual. I am aware this is not a hearsay. When my in-law was kidnapped, all right, in Imo State, Ngo Opala. Now, I went there. When I was discussing negotiating with the terrorists, and they were asking for 10 million, 20 million, and I was proposing 5 million. They cursed me to heaven to say, in fact, they banned the phone. Now, I went to Shangisha, I reported this matter, but the American government now told me to hands off the embassy. And please, they secure them. One single soul. But now we are here, we are rejoicing that some people have come back home. This is dishonesty. Please, when you are talking about inflation, you are talking about loans. Why should Buhari government, at the last minute of his exit, be taking loan? Why? Why is it that the Buhari administration is a government of loans? Now, political governance by taking through debt management. The generations that are going to be paying for this loan, if ever we are going to pay, because Latin American strategy is also to continue to take loan, and what we will do thereafter is to repudiate. You denounce it. But let us assume we are going to pay. It is not you, Dr. Abati. It's not Yemi, it's not Professor Kila that will be paying. It is the generations either yet unborn or those things. No matter for how many times the debt will be rescheduled. I think it is a question of fraud, corruption, mismanagement. It's as simple as that. For as long as we are having this type of loan, taking a loan for the purposes of subsidy palliatives, and then so-called investment in agriculture like Abati will want us to have us believe, please, it is very fraudulent. And I conclude with a proverb from Ibadan people. A thief steals in Ibadan. Instead of condemning the thief, the Ibadan people will say, that is, why do you put your thing where the thief will take it? Instead of condemning the thief to say you are taking what does not belong to you. That is what we are doing in Nigeria. We condone, we praise, societal ills. This is most unfortunate. It is not acceptable. And at the end of the day, this is the legacy President Buhari is leaving for Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Akintenuwa. Thank you also, Professor Anthony Kila, and thank you, Yemi Adamolekun. That's all we'll be able to take today on today's edition of This Day Live. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show, here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. From our entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.